Catherine, we can expect two things today. First, we can expect a vote on a date for the fall season to begin. And second, we can expect a lot of unresolved issues. This was done by the overnight storm. This looked nice yesterday. It doesn't now. We see dinghies blown up right by the Duxbury Yacht Club there. And if you walk with me here, right up against the rocks, we see multiple boats have been blown ashore. This is undoubtedly encouraging news, but if anyone out there plans on exhaling, breathing a sigh of relief, do so into a mask, because it is going to be several months still before a vaccine is widely available. Originally, Watertown wasn't going to head back to in-person learning, the hybrid model, until next week. And in fact, outside of Watertown High School here, you can see these yellow tape markers spaced about 6 feet apart, leading all the way up to the entrance to Watertown High School. So they're clearly getting ready. Those independent contractors, like electricians, are considered to be essential workers by the governor's order. Now, for people like me who are fish out of water around these things, that's a good thing if anything were to come up. At what point in the lifespan of this technology are we right now? For many, this modem here was enough before everybody in the family was forced to work and do their school learning from home, and then it got overwhelmed. And for still so many more, there's no broadband internet access in the home. Heather, the state's drive-through Stop the Spread testing site in Framingham moved to this location, Walsh Middle School, at the start of the month, and it's supposed to be open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. I say supposed to be because some people, dozens in fact, who have been showing up as early as 2.5 hours before the closing time have been sent away, and the reasons still remain unclear. The Commonwealth's Stop the Spread program offers free COVID-19 testing to tens of thousands of Massachusetts residents each day in 18 communities. Just not to this person, or that person, or that one. In fact, over several days, Boston 25 News saw dozens of people seeking a test turned away from the Stop the Spread site at Framingham's Walsh Middle School. All right, it is 11 a.m. and for the fourth time in a week, I am attempting to enter the state's Stop the Spread COVID-19 test site in Framingham. Good, how are you?
Here to get a COVID test?
I am.
It's closed for today.
It's closed for today, but it's 11 o'clock. Each time, the police officers working detail have referenced either the long line or a lack of capacity. A spokesperson for the Massachusetts COVID Command Center says capacity is not a problem, and they're not running out of tests, saying the state averages between 60 and 70,000 tests per day and has the ability to test more than 100,000. On Wednesday, the spokesperson told Boston 25 News the command center would coordinate with Framingham officials so people would not be turned away again. But then, one day later, didn't make it in. 2 hours before the site is set to close. Turned away again. And so I asked the COVID Command Center spokesperson what exactly is the policy, trying to get clarity here. And actually just 20 minutes ago, I did receive some answer back. The spokesperson says that the official policy is for these test sites to administer tests to anyone who arrives before the advertised closing time, but the local sites can make adjustments and exceptions. Communication between the state and the local officials, the police, could be at issue here. So we've reached out to Framingham Police this morning for comment on that. Live in Framingham, I'm Michael Henrich, Boston 25. Uniformed in their union's purple shirts, these healthcare workers met at Perkins Community Center in Boston to vote early Saturday. They say for the health of their democracy.
We are here to ensure that everybody has proper health care, and we do that by voting.
I migrated here, and I've been in this country for 40 years. And so the democracy that I came with, when I wake up in the morning, it just seems like I'm in another place.
With Election Day just a week and a half away, the state says early voting already accounts for more than 42% of the total turnout for the last presidential race. The Secretary of the Commonwealth says almost 1 million people already voted by mail, with nearly another 500,000 voting early in person. A statistic with meaning, says Tufts University political science professor Jeffrey Berry.
But we're going out and voting because we feel it's a civic obligation. The second thing that's going on is that this is mostly a Democrat state. The Republicans are only 1 out of every 10 voters. So this is really a reflection of Democrats wanting to say something about President Trump.
Like here in Dedham, town halls throughout the Commonwealth opened this weekend to allow voters to participate in a variety of ways. You could drop off your mail-in ballot, you could cast an early ballot inside, and Saturday marked the last day someone could register to vote in time for the November election. The COVID-19 pandemic prompted the state to extend the voter registration deadline 10 days, with online registration running through 11:59 p.m. Saturday. Because prospective voters could postmark their registration through Saturday, the Secretary of the Commonwealth's office says final registration data won't be available until the middle of next week. Some voters say they didn't need extra time.
How important is this election to you?
Very.
Why is that?
I just feel very strongly about it.
Early in-person voting runs through Friday, October 30th. I'm Michael Henrich reporting, Boston 25 News. Youth sports evoke the smell of the ice, the kick of the ball, the crack of the bat. Today's club teams, town teams, seasons stretching year-round, kids playing 3 sports at a time. Youth sports also evoke pressure.
It's pretty tough. It's more of the time management.
Gavin Moser is a 2-sport varsity athlete at his Metro West High School and plans to play baseball at Brandeis University next year. He's played multiple sports on multiple teams each season for much of his childhood.
If you truly enjoy it, it's worth it.
Gavin says he's been lucky to have a supportive team of coaches and family along the way. But he's seen the other side, too.
When a coach yells, it's not really that helpful. You already know I messed up.
The Aspen Institute takes a look at youth sports each year, rolling out the nonprofit State of Play report. The finding? Fewer kids are playing youth sports than a decade earlier. 45% in 2008, 38% in 2018.
One year they're saying, do I get to play baseball? Then the next year it's, do I have to play baseball?
Chris Fay is a partnership manager and trainer with the Positive Coaching Alliance. He says it's not about giving everyone a trophy, but about coaches creating an environment that kids want to be in and return to.
The number one reason kids leave sports is they're not having fun.
That, studies show, is mostly on the adults. Fay says one survey asked youth athletes who they would take to their championship game if they had just 2 tickets. It's not their parents. Most say they would take their grandparents because they are relentlessly positive.
But oftentimes, immediately after the game, what's the first question we ask them? Why did you do this on the field? Why didn't you back that play up? Why didn't you throw it there?
It's the car ride home,
It's
right?
the car ride home. And studies have shown that when we get in the car, kids want to hear one thing from us. I loved watching you play today. That's it.
The pressure on student athletes has become such a concern. More than 50 parents gathered this fall at Medfield's middle school to talk about solutions.
The norm for kids to play one sport all year round, and I have mixed feelings about that.
It's the fear of missing out.
I think parents push. To some degree that's okay, but maybe in some cases excessively. And it's hard for the kids to say they really don't want to do it.
It's just a different beast these days from when I grew up.
Decorated Olympians and physical therapy experts alike gave parents advice. Limit how many sports your child plays per season to avoid burnout and injury. More often or more expensive is not always better, and to speak with your child about what they want. 2-time World Cup soccer champion Christine Lilly's advice?
We just need to take a breath and kind of remember that they're kids.
Those are the kids that I think the sports will impact the most. Just being part of a team, getting the reward of having those friends and that tight bond.